Hello everybody and welcome to chapter 3 of the book of Bereishit as we go through our journey through Tanach. In chapter 3 we are going to read about the first sin. We're going to read about Adam and Chava and the serpent convincing Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We're going to read about how Eve ate the fruit and also gave it to Adam, and at that point their eyes opened, so to speak, and they realize that they are naked and they hide from Hashem, and Hashem ends up punishing them. Punishes the serpent with one punishment, the woman with another, man with a third. And we see towards the end of the chapter that Adam and Chava are going to be exiled, sent away, sent out of the Garden of Eden. So let's go through this together, starting with verse 1, Pasuk 1, V'hanachash haya arum mikol chayas hasadeh asher asa Adonai Elohim. The serpent was cunning beyond any beast of the field that Hashem God had made. It's interesting, the Torah uses the word arum. We translate it as, in English as cunning or as sly, but arum is the same word that we will soon use for Adam and Chava, who are described as being naked. Vayomer el ha'isha, the serpent says to the woman, Af ki amar Elohim lo sochli mikol eitz hagan. Did perhaps Hashem say that you shall not eat of any tree in the garden? Vatomer ha'isha el ha'nachash, and the woman says back to the serpent, Mipri eitz hagan noichel. He said that from all of the trees you may eat. Verse 2, Vatomer ha'isha el ha'nachash, the woman says back to the serpent, Mipri eitz hagan nochel. Of the fruit of any tree of the garden we may eat. Umipri ha'etz asher b'soch hagan omar Elohim lo sochlu mimenu. And of the tree that is in the center of the garden, Hashem has said that you should not eat from it. V'lo sigu bo, and you should not touch it. Pens musun, lest you die. Now, is that true? Did Hashem really say that you may not touch the tree that's in the center of the garden? No. It would seem that this is an extra safeguard that has been added, an extra clause that has been added, and this is the root of the downfall for Chava and subsequently for Adam, that they have incorrectly represented what Hashem's instruction actually was. They were not allowed to eat from it. It didn't say that they're not allowed to touch it. Vayomer hanachash el ha'isha lo mustamusin. So the serpent says back to the woman, you will not surely die. Ki yodea Elohim, for Hashem knows, ki biyom achalchem mimenu, that on the day that you eat of this, v'nifkachu einechem, your eyes will be opened, v'hiyisem kelohim, and you will be like God, yodei tov vara, knowing good and bad. Verse 6, Vatere ha'isha, the woman saw, ki tov ha'etz l'ma'achal, that the tree was good for eating, v'chi sa'avahu la'inayim, and that it was a delight to the eyes, v'nechmad ha'etz lahaskil, and that the tree was desirable as a means to wisdom, v'tikach mipriyo v'tochal, and she took of its fruit and she ate, v'titen gam le'isha ima v'yochal, and she also gave it to her husband and he ate as well. There's a famous question as to how she would have seen that it is good to eat, and one of the famous answers to this is that the serpent purposely pushed her against the tree, and upon realizing that she did not die from touching it, she then thought, okay, we're not going to die from eating it either. And that, as I said, was the root of the mistake. Verse 7, Vatipakachna einei shneihem. Then the eyes of both of them were opened. V'yedu ki erumim heim. And they realized that they were naked. That same word, erumim and erum. Vayisperu alei se'ena. And they sewed together a fig leaf. Vayasu lahem chagoros. And made for themselves aprons. There's a famous question asked as to why they're sewing fig leaves together to be able to make clothing. And there's a fascinating answer that actually the fruit of the tree was not an apple, as is commonly depicted, but actually it was figs. There are other answers as well. They say perhaps it was grapes and it was wine and they became intoxicated. Another interpretation that perhaps it was bread. Another interpretation perhaps it was an esrog. But the reason why they say that the fruit that they ate was actually figs is because the very next thing that they do is they then use the fig leaves, which aren't particularly big to be able to fashion clothing. If they were really embarrassed, they could have just taken massive leaves. But instead, they go to the trouble of taking these fig leaves, perhaps because they just made this big mistake with figs, and now they're trying to counteract the potency of their error. Verse 8. Vayishma'u es kol Adonai Elohim mishalech began l'ruach hayom. They heard the sound of Hashem walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Obviously, walking is going to have a different meaning for Hashem as a non-physical being. Nevertheless, that is the anthropomorphic word that is used here in the verse. Vayischabei ha'adam ve'ishto. And the man and his wife hid from Hashem, mipnei Adonai Elohim b'soch eitz hagan, because Hashem was among the trees of the garden. Verse number 9, Vayikra Adonai Elohim el Adam, and Hashem called out to the man, Vayomer lo, and said to him, Ayeka, where are you? Verse 10, Vayomer es kolcha shomati bagan. He said, I heard the sound of you, Hashem, in the garden, Va'ira, and I was afraid. Ki eirom anochi, because I am naked. Va'echaveh, and so I hid. Verse 11, Vayomer, Hashem says back to him, Mi yigid lacha ki eirom ata. Who told you that you are naked? Hamin ha'etz asher tzivisicha levilti ochal mimenu achalta. Have you eaten of the tree from which I commanded you not to eat? Verse 12, Vayomer Adam, the man says back to Hashem, Ha'isha asher nosata imadi, he nasna li min ha'etz va'ochel. The man said, it was the woman's fault. It was my wife's fault. The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. Verse 13, Vayomer Adonai Elohim la'isha, mazos asis. So Hashem says to the woman, what is this that you have done? Vatomer ha'isha, and the woman said, Hanachash hishi'ani va'achel. The serpent deceived me, and I ate. Vayomer Adonai Elohim el hanachash. And so now Hashem says to the serpent, Ki asisa zos, because you have done this, arur ata mikol ha'beima. You are going to be cursed more than all of the other animals. Umikol chayas hasadeh, and all of the beasts of the field. What's the curse going to be? Al gechoncha seilech. You are going to go on your belly, va'afar tochal kol yimei chayecha, and dust shall you eat all the days of your life. Verse 15, ve'eva ashis beincha uvein ha'isha. I will plant hostility between you and the woman, uvein zaracha uvein zara, between your children and hers. Hu yeshufecha rosh va'ata teshufenu akev. Man will strike your head, and you will bite at his heel. Verse 16, El ha'isha amar, to the woman he said, Harba arbe itzvonech. I will make your pain in pregnancy searingly great. Ve'hironech be'etzev tel divanim. And in great pain shall you bear children. Ve'elisheich teshukaseich v'hu yimshal bach. You will long for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Verse 17, to the man, Ula Adam Omar, to Adam, he said, Ki shamata lekol ishtecha, because you listen to the voice of your wife, v'tochal min ha'etz asher tzivisicha lemor lo sicha mimenu, and you ate from the tree that I had commanded you not to eat from, arura ha'adama, cursed will be the land, ba'avurecha, on your account, because of you, ve'itzavon tochalena, by painful toil you will eat from it, kol yimei chayecha, all the days of your life. Verse 18, v'koitz v'dardar tatzmiach lach, it will sprout thorns and thistles for you, v'ochalta es esef hasadeh, and you shall eat plants of the field. Fascinating that this is seen as a curse, and yet in the previous chapter 1, Hashem had told mankind that they are going to eat of the plants of the field. And one of the answers to this question is that originally it was going to be that mankind would be able to eat directly from the ground, but now it's only going to be possible to eat this food with immense work and effort. Verse 19, by the sweat of your brow shall you eat bread, ad shuvacha el ha'adama, until you return to the land, ki mimena lukachta, because from there you were taken. Ki afar ata vel afar tashuv. For you are dust, and you will return to dust. Verse 20, Vayikra ha'adam shem ishto Chava, and man called his wife's name Chava, Eve. Ki hi haisa aim kol chaim, because she had become the mother of all life. Verse 21, Vayas Adonai Elohim la'adam u'le'ishto kosnos or vayalbishem. Then Hashem made garments of skin for Adam and his wife, vayalbishem, and he clothed them. Verse 22, Vayomer Adonai Elohim, then Hashem said, Hein ha'adam haya ke'echad mimenu. Now that man has become like one of us, ladas tov v'ra, knowing good and evil, va'ata, now, pen yishlach yadoi v'lakach gam me'etz ha'chayim, he must not be allowed to reach out his hand and also take from the tree of life, v'achal v'chai le'olam, and then eat and live forever. And the problem here, according to one interpretation, according to the Ramban, is that if he would live forever and Hashem has decreed that he had to die, then the decree of Hashem would not have been fulfilled. So verse 23, Vayishalchehu Adonai Elohim migan Eden. So Hashem sent him out of Gan Eden, of the Garden of Eden, la'avoid es ha'adama, to work the land, asher lukach misham, from which he had been taken. Finally, verse 24, Vaygaresh es ha'adam, he drove out the man, Vayashken mikedem legan Eden, es ha'kruvin, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden, kruvim, cherubs, ve'es lahat ha'cherev, hamis ha'peches, and a whirling, flaming sword, lishmor es derech eitz ha'chayim, to guard the way to the tree of life. That brings us to the end of chapter 3. Look forward to seeing you for chapter 4, where we will be talking about the story of Cain and Abel, Cain and Hevel, a fascinating episode. I look forward to seeing you then.